Master Peter Brusso, and I'm here with, I believe it might be a master. What's your rank there, Bill Perkins?
Oh, I'm just a guy. I have a Sandan in Shinshin Tuitsu Aikido Kai. I've been training Aikido about 20 years.
You know, you've been doing it for a long time, long enough to at least be quite competent. And of course, this is our first podcast for our new website, selfdefenseweaponsite.com. Welcome to the podcast. And have you ever done a podcast before?
I have not, so this is a new fun
Oh, wow.
experience for me.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're number one. I was threatening for the last 10 years to do this on the other site, and I never did it, but now I'm doing it now. So, all right. So, Bill, how did you find the defenders? How did you find them?
Basically, I was Googling self-defense, weapons, tools, etc. Because I teach a lot of self-defense classes, and I came across it, and I ran across your name and the defender, and I, looked you up and started watching the videos, and then as you know, I called you, and we had a phone conversation, and it kind of went from there.
And it is a little unbelievable. I mean, people see the tool and they see the guys falling down and going ouch and stuff like that. I've even been said that, oh, all that was fake. Matter of fact, I'll digress ever so briefly. When I first made that video back in 2004, I took out all the ouches and the expletives out of that and produced it, and then everybody said, oh, that's all fake. So I put the ouches back in, but at any rate, so then so you got interested in the tool, you bought a tool, and then what happened?
Just started playing with it, pressure testing it with my students. We looked at it from like accessing it from the ground, from a clinch, two hands behind the back, weapon, without a weapon, and I just kind of, see how many ouches and explicatives I could get out of them with minimal effort,
and did you?
It works pretty well.
And did
Yes,
you get a lot of them?
Yeah, I did. There's some sounds that I'm not quite sure were human, to be honest. They were coming from some of them.
I've seen that before. When I go down and teach the Marines, I tell them you're going to scream like little girls, and they laugh at me. And I hear sounds coming out of bodies that I never knew could. That's odd that you've mentioned the same darn thing. I haven't heard anybody else that mentioned that before, but this is absolutely true. So, did your students have the same kind of wowie, like, what is that? And then, oh shoot, that hurts, quit that?
Yeah, they did, and to be honest, I mean, it worked great. And I also used, I've used everything from Sharpies to rubber training knives and got a similar effect, though not as quickly, but it's by applying the principles, that I got from playing and learning with the defender.
Right.
And so they got the same effect, but they didn't quite have the same maybe intention as I did. So I got a little quicker result, but they certainly got a very good result from it.
One of the things I always have fun with is after I teach defender class to my students, most of my dojos had kitchens in them, believe it or not. So I go into the kitchen drawer and I pull out the kitchen drawer of utensils and dump them out on the mat. And I said, pick out something you don't think you can work to defend yourself, and then using the principles of the defender, most things work really well as an improvised defender. Clearly not as good in many cases as a defender themselves, but clearly they can be used for sure. Now, you liked it so much you became an instructor. Why did you do that?
Yeah. Just because I saw it, and I'm like, it's a technology that, I said, hey, this is easy. I can teach people this. I prefer, obviously, they want to train with me for the next 20 years to life, but there's that certain niche of people that want to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours with you, and I wanted something that I could help them die less often. So, and hopefully from that, then they would want to train more and look at more improvised weapons and get more involved with it. But
Sure.
it's definitely something you can do with a church group, a women's group, cheerleading squad at my middle school that I work at or whatever, and they could easily, I feel comfortable that they could at least escape, the violent encounter that they were in at that moment.
Yeah, one of the nice things about the tool is for very minimal training, you get maximum effect. And where we spend 20, 30, 40, in my case, 50 some years learning to deal with the physical world and anti-grabs and grabs and joints and locks, and a person just doesn't usually have that kind of time. So, this tool, given 20 minutes with some instruction, can be pretty high speed. That's what I've found.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I also think that if you have some training, some substantial training, it really accelerates your progress.
Oh, no
And
question.
your
Yeah,
comfort zone.
no question. I've always thought about, how if you want to go study another martial arts, you got to adapt to them all the time. This is a tool that adapts to whatever techniques you already have. So it blends in with your Aikido very well, I think, and it blends in with other stuff that you would do. You don't have to learn what I do. You just do what you normally do, just use a tool that accents the whole thing. Have you found that to be true?
Yes, particularly in like from the ground or
Hmm.
from like cross hand grabs, whatever where you would apply say a wrist lock. We would call it nikyo. Pre-war
Right,
styles we call it like nikajo.
right.
Um, Using the edging on the defender to basically increase the mechanical advantage of that.
Yes.
Yeah, highly effective. I tend to think of as joint locks as transition movements, not as finishing movements.
Oh,
But with the
absolutely.
defender, I think it gives you an option to have kind of both. I mean, it's kind of a pinning and breaking, or moving from point A to point B.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is shocking is how much pain they actually incur on somebody quickly, far
Sure.
quicker than the opponent actually knows it's happening, and then they just kind of forget the fight altogether. They just want away from that thing.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I would.
Now you're going to be teaching here, what, this next weekend someplace? You've been invited to
Yes.
go do some serious on teaching. Let's talk about that a little bit. That's kind of fun in your career.
Yeah. Actually, I've been invited to help a local jiu-jitsu group work on some grappling.
Hmm.
They're doing grappling. Obviously, I'm working on joint manipulations, and basically what I'm teaching is principles of joint locks and how to incorporate those into your training with a minimum 1.5 2 hours worth of you know skill specific training. I can make them more than competent.
Sure.
Pretty excited about that, and then I'm also introducing the defender into that as well from a self defense perspective.
That ought to be a lot of fun because when you get really seriously trained guys and you put them at the opposite end of a defender, it's like they're white belts again. It's like, oh, they start dancing, trying to get away. They can't believe it. It's a lot of fun to put artists at the other end of this tool. Not just, I mean, we commonly do it with the common folk, that don't train. But boy, when you walk into a dojo and you hold that little tool up, matter of fact, I should go get one for the camera. Forgive me for not having it. Oh, there you go. Somebody's on
I
their
have.
game right here. When you pull that up and they go, what the heck is that? And
Oh yeah,
then
I had. Um,
and then say, choke me, grab me, do a triangle choke, whatever you want to do that and try to hang on.
oh yeah, and the thing I love about this tool right here, and I'm just kind of holding it up here a little bit.
Thank you.
I showed this to a police officer in my community, and he goes, "What's the heck's that?" And I go, "Here, let me show you." And I
Hmm.
showed 3 or 4 people. I'm like, "Hey, look at this cool, neat toy I've got," and they had no idea what it was. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, maybe it's a spaghetti strainer. Maybe it's an ice scraper, but it's also called the Defender. This one, Defender One's a little more aggressive than some of the earlier models,
Hmm.
but yeah, people didn't had no clue what it was, and 2 or 3 seconds later, they're like, "Crap, don't do that again." But where can I take your class?
Yeah.
So
I've actually had a sheriff show up out here, and I live out on the beach in the middle of a desert. And the oxymoron. I mean, you as an Aikidoist, you've just got to love the irony of living in the beach on a beach in the desert. That's it's kind of the same thing. We defend ourselves with no power. What's up with that? Anyway, this sheriff showed up, and he was a former Marine. And my place is a destination place. You don't drive by here. You end up here. And so I walked out and introduced myself, see what he was doing. He was doing some paperwork in a quiet place, and we got talking. And I showed him this tool, and he said, "What the heck is that?" And out of the car he came, and I said, "Well, the best thing for me to do to show you is come in my house." And my house is full of weapons. And I said, "Overlook everything on the walls because it's covered with weapons. Many, I'm sure, are not probably legal in the state of California. Of course, most things aren't." And he came in, looked around, and smiled, and said, "Okay, I got it." And I handed him a gas-operated plastic BB gun, the airsoft version, and I said, "Shoot me as soon as I move." He goes, what? I said, yeah, shoot me as soon as I move. Hands up with a defender. I whirled in, took that weapon out of his hands, racked around, shot him just above his flak jacket in the throat. And he goes, holy crap. What the hell just happened to me? He had no idea. And I think when you first obviously startle them so their brain can't comprehend what's occurring, and then the pain smacks them 0.3 of a second later, that takes everything out of them. They're gone at that point.
Sure.
And I think that the element of surprise is a really, really good thing. I mean, you think about young girls getting attacked at dorms or walking down the street or whatever. Give them a defender, and I think they would have a good chance of successfully defending themselves. And how do you think about that?
No, I totally agree. And there's also movements that we do in Aikido in our warm-ups that we do twice, each side. And it's because, the mind, first time the mind kind of goes, and then by the second time your mind and body are kind of together,
Right.
And I think it's a similar thing with the defender. You're taking their mind, and then, by the time the body realizes what's happening to it, you've already got them in a very compromised position to where you can escape or control them,
Right.
depending on what job title is.
Yeah, I think it certainly does give you the opportunity to stop the aggression. And this we're being nice to people. I mean, defender, like a defender 1 breaks teeth, takes out eyeballs, rips up noses. I mean, if you, and I've always thought, if I'm going to give one of these to my girls, my girls have them, by the way. I have twin 25-year-olds and then an older one. They all have these tools. They all have the most aggressive one we've got, because I don't want them to take any prisoners. I just want the aggression to absolutely be stopped dead in its tracks. I don't care how much damage they do. We'll worry about that later. And they work quite well for them. Several have used them, so it's quite good to get them out of those positions. But
Sure.
for us, the Defender 1 is the right answer as we teach and train people. And there's so many cases you wouldn't want to use a Defender 2, which is a much more aggressive tool, at a family party where your uncle's drunk. You need to move him out of there. You wouldn't do it with a Defender 2 very, very gracefully, that's for sure. So, have you had some of the other models? Do you have some of the other ones?
No, I've looked at them. I mean, the rabbit kind of actually intrigued me, but I don't think you're making that one anymore. And like the guppy, just because I work at a middle school during the day, and then I work with a lot of after-school kids, and so it's a little more innocuous. People wouldn't really have any idea what it was.
Yep.
And then, as you know, if you apply the principles, I mean, I taught classes for years with a Sharpie and a rolled-up newspaper, and
Oh yeah.
you can make a cry with a newspaper and a Sharpie, and it's always fun. But this is a lot more efficient, use of force.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm just making a note that I will send you a guppy and a rabbit, courtesy of this podcast.
Oh,
And
wow.
Then you can. We just got the guppies remade. Historically, I had the tools, somewhat accidentally made in India. My Indian CFO took them across, and he made 5,000 pieces and said, "Oh, here, sir, now buy them from me." Boy. So anyway, I ended up with 5,000 pieces of Defenders, and as soon as those sold out, that I've got a sign company in Anaheim, California, that does a really, really good job. They're CNC routered, and they
Right.
absolutely are a new tool when they come out of that. Really super crisp edges. I was quite surprised when I got them done the first time. So anyway, each model that goes out, I usually have them done, and I just ran out of guppies over Christmas. Took them off the line, putting them back in the line now. But I'll send you one of those in the new guppy configuration, and quite the tool actually. Still not fully featured like Defender 1 is, but boy, you could walk that anywhere. Walk it on an aircraft. Sure. Of course, we have the Defender 1s go on aircraft all the time. They even get looked at, and people tell them they're spaghetti tools or ice scrapers. Fish scalers, and we got a number of different interesting stories to tell people.
Sure.
The other thing that we do too is that if it ever gets taken away from you, I'll replace it for free. Don't even bother trying to get it back. I had one guy go through a courthouse in Ohio, and they stopped him, because you had to put all your stuff in a little, I guess, tray and send it through, for inspection like the airport. And they said, "What is that?" He says, "Oh, it's a weapon." Well, that was his first mistake, so the
Right.
sheriff immediately grabbed him. "But what do you mean it's a weapon?" And he said, "We're going to hold on to this. You don't get to go in with this. Matter of fact, we're going to hold on to it. You have to get it back from us tomorrow at the substation or something." And I said, "Just don't show up. I'll send you one." He goes, "No, I want my tool back." He went in and showed him what it was, and they gave it back to him. God bless, they gave it back to him. But that's for the sake of $14.95, I'll replace it.
Sure.
We just don't want to get on. We don't want to get on the bad side of the police. That's not the whole point. Nobody's ever used this on a policeman, and I'm sure they never will. They'll just step back and get shot. That's what's going to happen. But police don't have anything to fear with this. Several of them really liked it. Did you let them play? Did the police get the chance to play with your Defender one?
Yeah, he looked at it, and I've invited him to my class. There's one thing that I do that a lot of people don't necessarily do, but any law enforcement, active duty military, and law enforcement agent is welcome to train at my dojo for free.
Me too.
Come in.
Yeah, me too.
So if they want to work on ground skills or choke escapes or weapon retention, I'll make the time and create a class for them. Now, obviously, if they want to pursue rank and Aikido, then
Sure.
I'll let them train. But then eventually they have to join, because
Yep.
Japan needs to get paid like everybody else. But
Yep.
if they're just wanting to work on a specific skill set, my door's open for any active duty military and law enforcement.
Yeah, I had some of the LAPD guys come up when they were practicing handcuffing, and they can't handcuff me. They probably couldn't handcuff you either. Once you do an unbendable arm, it's not going anywhere, and they can't handcuff you. I don't care what it is, but they can't do it. So unless they beat on you. But so that's good. So what are your future plans for the Defender in your schools? Are you going to try to get some more oriented classes that way? You're going to just sift them out and see what they do?
Yeah, my plan is, honestly, I'm trying to get it to where it's an ongoing part of the curriculum as a self-defense curriculum that I'm designing. I turned 50 this past year, and I've dedicated myself to training 100 women for free. And I did that empty-handed, and now I'm going to go back and reintroduce the Defender, and basically we're going to work on improvised weapons and ground skills. And then I'm trying to build it to where it'd be like, twice a month or three times, or maybe 3 times a month a class. A minimal charge, like, $35 and included Defender for them.
Sure.
Just to get them out the door and get them used to it, and just, basically goodwill. I think as a martial artist, it's your duty, to train people, keep them safe in your community. And so that's kind of what we're looking for with this.
Well, you don't find too many people like you. That's good. God bless. That's a good way to be. Most martial artists are not like us, I don't think, so that's good to find another one. That's for sure. So oh yeah, no, that's great. Do you ever get a chance to videotape your classes at all?
Occasionally, I do. I've got a few. I'm working on redoing more videotaping, and then when I start doing the Defender series, I'm hoping to defend that. And then I did some interviews, some exit interviews. Funny thing was, when I turned 50, I taught. There was a lock-in at the middle school about 3 blocks from my house, and their cheerleaders were having a lock-in. They paid me in cupcakes, so I taught them a 3-hour self-defense clinic, and my pay was chocolate cupcakes because it was my birthday. So.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Now, what's a lock-in? I'm not familiar with what a lock-in is.
Well, basically, it's in the summer, so their sponsors and their parents, the girls, basically spend the night in the school, so they're safe. They go up there and they work on cheer stuff all day long or whatever, and then they spend the night in the schools, camp out in the library, watch movies, and the doors are locked, and they stay that way till in the morning, so that they spend the night in the school. And a lot of church groups do that here in the Midwest as well. They're called lock-ins, but you could call it a sleepover, but basically
Sure.
Once they come in, they can't leave, so their parents aren't worried about them, and leaving in the middle of the night or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So well, that sounds good. I'd be really interested, of course, to maybe even come back and do another podcast after you introduce the Defender to the kind of high speed guys. You were saying they acid test everything. They really put, don't trust us, let's really see if it works kind of stuff going on. I'd like to see what they think of it.
Sure, that would be a blast.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great. And now, do you produce your own videos at all?
I've started doing more of that.
Okay.
I've been told that I need to be videotaping all my classes, and I kind of came up old school where we used to like close the dojo, pull the blinds, and train.
Right. Right. No,
And
I know.
now I'm kind of teaching in a more public space, and so I'm starting to incorporate. I do have some videos up on on YouTube,
Hmm.
and so I'm looking to organize that a little better. And
Hmm.
basically, I'm starting a channel made just for my school. So rather than under my name, I'm gonna try and open up a channel with just my dojo maybe,
Hmm.
and just put
Hmm.
all my training videos there. I haven't. I guess the long answer is I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that at this point. But I do have some, but just not a lot of them.
Okay. Well, I can help you with that if you're interested. Clearly, I think there's a lot of value to selling web-based videos for people to learn from around the world. That way you just spread the goodness faster, better. You know, and so you have a bunch of stuff that's for free. I always like to do trailers to my stuff, as you know, so they can see the quality that's inside that video, and I always offer a money-back guarantee. So you may want to go down that road a little bit, maybe. Think about starting with white belt, for example. You know, and put the teachings online and figure out some kind of test series and keep on going. And it can be done. And
Cool. I mean,
women's self-defense too. Think about that. I mean, if you did anything, if you just put up a for-pay, download streaming video for women's self-defense, we reach a lot more people that way than will ever walk in your dojo.
oh, right. I agree with that. And like I said, with the women's classes, traditionally, I videotaped some of them. For a while, I wasn't doing a lot of it because, as you know, men and women attack each other differently. And the last thing I wanted to do was basically put how I teach women to defend themselves on YouTube for guys to watch and go, hey, now I know how to get out of,
Yeah, no, it's a paid download, or at least if you want to
Right.
give it away for free, they email you and try to make sure it is a female that
Oh,
is
sure.
watching that. Yeah.
But I would be very interested in looking at that. That would be awesome. So
Yeah,
thank you.
there's a lot of shortcuts, a lot of stuff because I produce a lot of videos. So it's
Wow.
I think for $54 you can get a Vegas home studio video kind of thing, and the most important part about video, believe it or not, is audio. And so getting the right equipment to get good audio and then having audio editors so you can really clean that up makes a huge difference in the professionalism of a video. Um, and that's my firm belief anyway, having done it since, gosh, 1992, something like that. Crazy time.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, hey, thanks, Bill. Now, how do people find you? Give me your telephone number and web address.
Sure. They can reach me on my, I believe I'm putting my cell phone out here on the internet for everybody, but they can reach me at 785-312-0506. And my address is olathekiaikido.com.
I'll have
So,
a link. I'll have a link up on the web, on the video, and also in the show notes too.
sure.
All right, Sir
Okay.
Bill. Well, thank you for coming on. Do you have any questions for me you want to answer, or we're done?
I think you covered a lot of it. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm still playing with my Defender. First thing I thought was, wow, the edging on this is really sharp. I would round that, but then I'm thinking, well, no. But if I wanted to get a
Oh,
wrist lock with that, then I like it sharp. So it's kind of, I'm just getting used to manipulating it more fully in my hand, and I think I'm going to
that's a
order a series of lanyards from you, and I'll be ready to go. I think. So,
there is one point on that. When I teach a lot, I do take one tool and I fire polish the edges so they're not quite so darn crisp.
right.
So when you get a hold of somebody all the time, that's not just excruciating constantly. So
Sure.
I do modify one tool for when I'm training with people, but their tools are sharp. That they have to be that
Right.
way. And
Sure.
like you saw in the instructor's manual and stuff, we do draw blood. It's unfortunate, but I've never had a class where we haven't drawn blood. And so band-aids and alcohol swabs are all good things, and polysporin is great, but best you try. It's just the tool that eats you up. And so
Right.
fire polishing one for training purposes, your opponent will certainly thank you if you have one person you always show the technique on, which we commonly do, have an uki.
Right.
And uki really appreciates a fire polished edge tool. So, all right, Sir Bill. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you're doing with the with your high-speed dudes and how they like the tool. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Bill, and I'll.